Hey, survivors, welcome back. Tonight,
cheers.
Cheers. Oh, cheers.
Cheers.
That's another thing we did all this year. But we're going to kind
Year
of
in review.
the year in review. But I think each of us is going to talk about one case that we think was the most significant of this year, be it the most noteworthy, the most traumatic, or what may have the longest effect.
Whatever.
Interesting,
Or what's going on in law enforcement that
So,
affected them.
whatever. So anyway, we'll be right back with the show. All right, we're back, and we're going to be talking about some of the most significant cases of 2022.
Yeah.
This is our New Year's, the end of the year episode. So I'm going to start out with what I think it could be one of the most significant incidents or cases involving law enforcement 2022, and it would be the Robb Elementary, school shooting, where law enforcement didn't act like they should have. Yeah. And, ever since the Columbine shooting, we have constantly evolved since that to the fact where we all know in law enforcement, you go in immediately.
So for those of you who are under a rock, why don't you explain what happened at the Robb Elementary?
That's where...
you all right, LT, over there, LT?
God damn, Miller Lite's kicking my ass.
How's your back doing?
You're working out like a madman, too, and I can't even open a damn beer can.
That's where there was an active shooter in Robb Elementary, which is in a small rural city of Texas, Uvalde. Which had a small police department covering the school district. Chief of police was on scene, and I believe it was about 3 to 4 hours elapsed from the first officer being on scene to them actually making contact with the suspect.
Yeah, he had killed his...
He killed his grandmother.
Right.
Went to the school and
came in through an unlocked door,
and stuff like that.
And the school resource officer had to cover a couple of different schools.
Yeah, he was
wasn't
roving.
a permanent location.
He wasn't assigned to that school.
Right.
So several kids died in the classroom after having called 911 saying he's still shooting.
Right.
And still no entry was made to stop this threat.
Yeah, there's a lot of video out there or pictures out there of the officers just standing in the hallway.
And we did do a show on this year.
So make sure and check that out.
But
on our playlist.
Here's the reason I think it's significant. I think whoever is in charge of hiring police chiefs, especially for smaller towns, where they can only pay the police chief $45,000
right,
for a job that has so much responsibility.
Oh my gosh!
Which is as much as an assistant manager at Wendy's makes.
Right.
They
actually just
crazy.
came out with a study that said most Americans won't take a job for less than $74,000 a year.
Right. Must be nice.
But these small town police departments or small school departments, they can't afford to spend this much money on police or police chiefs.
Right.
And they had a person in the position of police chief who was on scene and said, I didn't know I was in command.
Right. Which is a horrible thing to say.
The chief is always in command. He is always the incident commander unless he gives someone else that responsibility.
Right.
I mean, that's ISO Incident Command 101.
Right.
Okay?
Highest ranking officer on scene is in command.
Right. Unless you give it to somebody else.
Absolutely.
Who has more experience or...
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
So hopefully what we're going to learn is that people who are in charge of hiring chiefs of police or, you elect a sheriff, but you understand that the person who is in that position has to be qualified to do that job. It can't just be, a handout because he's a friend and a cop.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Bob put in for the job. Okay, you're it.
Yeah.
Well, we've known Bob for 20 years.
So now,
Right.
How has that affected you? Because you're a teacher now.
I am. I know that over the last year or so, we've had an increase in. So right now we have a full-time school resource deputy in our school, in all the schools in the county where I work.
Or guardian, right?
Well, in Volusia County, it's both.
Oh, okay.
And that might
Awesome.
just be because I teach at a high school. That might just be for the high school. We actually have 2 guardians, full-time guardians,
Right.
and the school resource deputy.
My wife's school, which is an elementary, she's a teacher also. They only have a guardian.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, so that,
But at least you have something.
right.
Well,
Right.
but that's another thing this taught us, because a lot of times they have the high schools, they perceive that the students themselves might be the threat.
And it is.
And it is. Yeah. Okay.
We have fights every day.
Right, absolutely.
But this was an elementary school.
Right.
So it was an outsider coming in
The threat is going to be from the outside.
from the outside.
Yes.
Right.
So you need someone there anyway.
So what happened to that police department? Did it get disbanded?
They're disbanded now.
Okay. And who's covering the security? Is it
I
sheriff's
believe the
office?
sheriff's department has
Yeah.
taken over.
Okay.
I believe it is, too.
And I think state of Florida, we did another episode on this, on school protection in the state of Florida, and there's a couple. Each county can do it differently. Either have a deputy, a guardian,
Right.
a combination of
Right.
both.
Absolutely.
But I'm pretty confident in Florida that there's a good combination of at least a deputy and or a school
At least one
guardian.
person with a gun on scene at all times.
All times,
Right.
And when our school resource deputy is off on vacation, they bring somebody else in, another deputy. It's not a gap.
Yeah, I mean, we had, where sometimes the SRO school resource officer had to go to another school or go do something, take like
Go
an
to
hour
court.
off, go to court or
Right.
something like that.
Or a day off.
Yeah.
So, someone on the road had to take that.
Yep.
Had to go
Yeah.
stand at the
It's
school.
not a missing blank spot at all.
Right.
And
What aggravates me about that case, sorry to interrupt
No,
you,
you're
Camille,
fine.
but what aggravates me about that case is we just had, a few years back, Columbine, where everything had changed with the way we responded to these type of situations, where we didn't wait for the SWAT team, where we didn't wait for 20 officers to get there to go in. All of that had changed, where we went in, and it first started out, as the diamond. You had 4 of you, you gathered up, you went in as diamond formation.
Yep.
Then they changed that even. And where it's like, when you're the first cop there, you freaking grab your shield, whatever you got, and you go in to eliminate the threat immediately.
and there was a handful of officers there. They should have gone
exactly.
They knew where
And
he was.
That's what made it so sad to me. This whole situation is that we as law enforcement, well, I'm not anymore, but we as law enforcement community, we know better than that. We know better. You're trained different than that.
Now, what do you think
know?
happened, John? Do you think it was leadership, a lack of leadership defining what they should do? Because if you have you said the police chief was there, and he was saying, hold off, don't go.
I don't know, because the final report hasn't really come out.
Okay.
But he's saying he never told anyone not to go in.
Okay.
And he damn sure didn't tell everyone to go in.
But he didn't tell anyone to go in.
So and see that's a shitty situation to be in also.
Yeah, but
Lead, follow, or get out of the way.
yeah, my thing is,
Right.
unless someone tells me no,
Right.
my ass is going in.
Your default answer is
I'm
what you
going
were
in.
trained to do.
Right.
Right.
And
So-
here's my question with the whole thing is, what type of training did these officers that were with this initial department that was there responsible for this school, what type of training did they receive in order to know whether the chief tells us to go in or not? By God, we're going in when we go on scene. We are going in. Who knows?
And realistically, because I know you had the city of Uvalde police department was there.
Right.
It was the school district
Right.
chief of police was the incident commander, or he was on scene. So but being his scene, because that's his jurisdiction, but if I'm a Uvalde police officer, I'm calling my superior saying, I'm going in,
Right.
tell me no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I know I would have told you,
Write me up.
The sheriff's department, I believe the chief of police or his representative of the city of Uvalde could have relieved the chief of command. I believe the sheriff could have relieved or taken control of the incident.
So it was a
Department
perfect
of Public
storm
Safety
of
was there.
mistakes.
Border Patrol was there.
Yeah, it was a perfect storm of mistakes for sure.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
All of these agencies failed to act.
They
Right.
did.
And
So-
it was just such a horrible tragedy.
It is. And so do you think that this is a wake up call?
Oh, I think it is, but I hope what happened, one of the biggest wake up calls we got was people who are currently wearing the badge who aren't willing to do that are willing to turn in their badge.
Right.
Because you need to be willing to do that.
Yeah.
That's your job.
Yeah.
That's what you signed up for. You
That's
didn't
what
sign
it
up
is.
for, yeah. Yep.
So
That's why I always say you never know when you put that uniform on and you get in that car to head to work, you never know if you're ever going to come home again.
Right.
And I accepted that when I put the badge on 37 years ago, for 35 years.
1937.
In 1937.
That I knew that I may never ever come home, and my family knew that, and
Yeah.
so did your families.
Yep.
They knew that, and that's just the way it
but
is.
what helped me is I knew that, but I never dwelled on it.
No, I didn't
you
either.
can't.
And I don't know if this new generation of law enforcement, because I know that it's weird. There seems to be a plague of anxiety across every walk of life, and I never.
They don't have safe rooms in law enforcement.
I never felt. I mean,
You can't get a safe space.
I mean, we've seen some shit. We've had guns and knives pointed at us, and then at work the next day.
Yeah, absolutely. 35 years. You can imagine how much shit I saw.
Right.
And I never once had to go seek a counselor.
Right.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
I'm just saying I never once had to go see a counselor, and I sucked it up and did the job the very next day.
Right.
Well, listen, with that, let's do our beer moment.
Let's do it.
Beer moment. All right.
What do we got today, John?
All right. Well, today we have, this is their Dark Side Imperial Stout, and this is from Blue Springs Brewing.
Hold it up to the camera.
They're associated with the Riverwalk Pizzeria. Riverwalk Pizzeria in Orange City is located at 1070 South Volusia Avenue in Orange City, or otherwise known as 1792.
Oh, look how dark that is.
Ooh,
Dark
baby.
Stout.
That is an.
This is in me and yours wheelhouse,
Which is
buddy.
not what I'm a big fan of.
Is that a lager, John?
No, it's not a lager.
Because you're a lager drinker by trade, right?
Trade.
This looks like a porter to me.
Yeah, that's a beautiful stout right there.
Ooh, boy, look at that stout porter.
Here's what I will say. In our previous show, the Christmas show, we did have the gingerbread cookie beer.
Yeah.
That was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Try that.
And then-
I'm waiting. And so this is Dark Side Imperial.
Dark Side Imperial Stout.
I couldn't wait. There is the label.
So you got Dark Side because there is no seeing through that. This is a clear cut. We did wash it.
John, it's kind of like your soul. Wow,
And
that's
smell.
really good.
I'll start us off.
Ooh,
Some stouts I'm not a big fan of. I like this one. I couldn't drink a lot of those after mowing the grass.
no.
But yeah, I'm gonna give that a good 7.5 right there.
Boy, after dinner though.
Oh yeah,
after
that's
a
true.
big steak
Dinner
or something.
and a cigar.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
yeah. John, what do you think?
I'm thinking it's a chocolate shake in a beer form.
Oh yeah, that's.
I mean, that's what it is. I mean,
That's
I don't
good.
even like stouts, and I'm going to give this an 8.5.
nice.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to give this an 8.5 because I am a stout drinker.
Yeah.
I really like it a lot. So great job, Blue Springs Brewery.
All right.
Salute, ladies
right.
and gentlemen. That is great.
And they have some great pizza, calzones, wings,
The
full
works.
bar, everything. So
Nice.
Yeah, that
stop
place,
by.
I love going to that place.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
it's
That's
always
good
freaking
stuff.
packed.
Yeah.
And they got a full bar, too.
Right.
They serve everything there. So that's
Works.
awesome.
I have
Fantabulous.
been there, and I've always stayed away from it because I'm not a fan of stouts.
Yeah.
But I am going to get this when I go
Okay.
there.
Nice.
So, and this is why we do the beer moment.
Man,
Right,
could
try
you
different
imagine
beers.
that after a big old freaking calzone or yeah, buddy.
Topping it off. Yep.
All
Grab
right.
this with a burger.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Burger and fries and a.
So Camille, what do you think the most significant thing of 2022 was in law enforcement? Either case or decision or whatever. What do you think?
So I'm glad you went to me because I was holding off on our Officer Fallen page moment because it has to do with what my thoughts.
Okay, perfect. There
So
you go.
as of right now, we're looking at 224 officers killed in the line of duty. Gunfire is up 3% from last year. Everything else seems to be
sick, man.
going down, but we know it's tough for the families during this time without your loved ones. So we salute you, officers, our fellow brothers and sisters, and
Salute.
our and the families.
God bless you and your families. Rest in peace.
So
Kind of wish I filled that beer up.
Right? That is really good.
more
Well, we
to
got
come.
more, brother.
I know.
So when you're ready, I'll pour you another one.
So it has to do with fallen officers. So all the stats I get from the fallen officer page, they do not mention police officer suicides. And I know we had Mark on
DeBona?
Yep.
Yep.
Either early this year or late last year.
I think it was early this year. Yeah.
And I want us not to lose focus on officers killing themselves because of just all the shit that we see.
Great subject.
And I didn't take yours, did I?
No.
Okay.
No. That's a great subject, man.
So in researching that, I started thinking about all the stuff that we've seen, that I've seen, and it's so important to have family, friends, the ability to block stuff off.
Right.
And I found this article. It happened in February of this past year. Sadat Johnson, he was a guy who was in Utah, right outside of Salt Lake City, Utah, and he got angry at and how many times do you hear this? He gets angry at McDonald's screwing up his order. So he starts waving a gun at the drive-through, right? They call law enforcement. He gets there, or law enforcement gets there, and he's got his 3-year-old daughter in the car, 4-year-old son in the car, and they're ordering him out. They see a gun, and they're putting him on the ground. All of a sudden, there's shots fired. Yeah. The 4-year-old son had picked up the gun and started shooting at the police.
Oh, my God.
And the investigation showed that he had told his son to do that. At what time, we don't know, but he had told his 4-year-old son, anything happens to me, shoot the police. And I'm like, how fucked up is that?
That is so evil. That is beyond evil of all evils. To tell a 4-year-old baby to pick up a gun and start shooting at the police.
And so luckily,
I have a grandson that's 4 years old.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even imagine him picking up a gun, not even a BB gun at 4 years old, and firing it at anything, let alone another human being. I just can't imagine that. Right. I can't imagine
intentionally.
If he sees a gun and picks it up.
Right. But I'm telling, to teach a 4-year-old baby, that's still a baby.
Yeah.
To do something like
That's
that.
why the respect for law enforcement, and we weren't necessarily going to get into the defund the police, but it's gotten beyond just money.
Right.
There is so much more that needs to be done to help law enforcement to retain officers and to recruit officers.
And I'm going to go into that. That's going to be my topic.
Okay, and it's not even just...
Way to go, John. Way to ruin it.
No, that's fine.
Big
That's
ruiner.
perfect.
But I mean, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing in teaching. It's the same thing in nursing.
Yep. Absolutely.
All these fields where now everyone has to do a lot more with a lot less.
Yeah, I agree.
And they're just like, well, we'll give them more money. Money is not going to do it.
No.
When you're working 90, 100 hours a week,
Yep.
it's like I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So this is one of the biggest problems that we have in this country. Facing
I agree.
Almost all first responder or
Second responders. Like the fire department. So I just wanted to finish with, I couldn't imagine if I'm out there and my partner gets shot by a 4-year-old, or if, let's say, they didn't know it was a 4-year-old shooting at them and they shot back, and then you end up killing a 4-year-old or a 3-year-old.
Oh, yeah. How would that go in the press?
And how does that go? Psychologically.
There's no way possible to ever, unless you're a psycho, to get over the traumatic events that would occur if you had to shoot a 4-year-old because he's pointing a gun at you and shooting at you.
Yeah.
What do you do, man?
Right.
Just take the bullet? I mean, oh my God.
Yeah. It's so
that's
that's
one
the
of the times where you just take cover and hope he runs out of rounds.
Exactly. I mean, my God.
Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff that officers deal with on a daily basis throughout this country. As many officers, there's
Give me chills, man.
there's officers dealing with the abuse of children, the child pornography cases. We were playing golf the other day with one of your buddies, and he worked child pornography for years, and I couldn't
with
do
the
it.
FBI.
I couldn't do it. I had a few child pornography cases, and I still, think about those times, and I just nope. I'm going to close that box back up.
Yeah,
and it's
and pass it to the guys that do that on a constant basis.
Yeah, and you just wonder. Or you don't wonder, that a lot of these officers who end up killing themselves do it because of such huge issues going on. And we really want you guys, if this is an issue, please seek out help. There's help. There's counseling.
There's a ton of it.
Yeah,
there's a ton of help out there.
We're gonna list some helpful links in the description below where you can reach out and get some help. That's my topic for.
And if you look back at our show where we had Mark as a guest, and I think it was labeled police suicide or something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head. All of those links are in there also, and Mark talks a lot about that.
I'd like to have him back on the show again.
Absolutely, because it is a great, big, huge issue.
Yeah,
unfortunately, it really is. So my biggest thing, being a part of the administration for a few years, yeah, I know, is I think that
Not a real cop.
I think that we are a victim of our own problem.
Okay.
We really are. I think that the administration and a lot of agencies creates their own issues within the department, and it started happening when the whole defund the police came around and all the videos and everything else came around, that I think these police chiefs, that most of them, like John said, $35,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year to be a police chief over an agency, the responsibility is, number one, immense, and then everything else involved in it. I just think that they are going above and beyond trying to control every little minor thing that happens out here on the street. And cops don't want to be cops anymore.
Right.
They are leaving these agencies in droves, dude. The Sanford Police Department, which is very close to us, they just had 7 cops leave in the last 3 months to go to other agencies that are higher paying, that are better benefits and everything else.
And not Sanford.
Because their pay is terrible. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is low, bottom of the rung pay. And these guys, the crime rate and the call load in that city is immense for a small city. It's crazy.
You think it's just the pay, or is it the lack of admin? Because if I were to go back in law enforcement today, let's say I had to go back in law enforcement, I would go to work as a sheriff's deputy, either with Wayne Ivey or Grady Judd.
Absolutely.
Because I know maybe the pay's not great, but I know that they got my back. As long as I don't screw up and I do my job.
Part of this you can take out of law enforcement. Almost any job.
Right.
If you know your supervisors and bosses support you and have your back.
Yep.
People are willing. It's not about the money. They're willing to put forth the effort.
Absolutely.
John and I worked together for, I don't know, out of his 20-year career, we worked on a shift together probably 15 years, I'm going to guess, out of those 20 years. And did me and John argue? Of course we did. Did I go to John and ask his advice? Yes. Did he come to me and ask my advice? Of course he did. But...
Did I take his advice? No.
But I never, ever, ever, or John never, ever, ever had to worry if I had his back.
Right.
Because I always, as long as he was doing what he should have been doing, which he always did, I never, ever had to worry about John. I mean, he never had to worry about me having his back.
Right.
Because I did all the way to the freaking wall.
And, if I made a mistake and screwed up, you called me out on it, chewed me out, dealt with it. We handled it the way it was supposed to be handled.
And we moved on.
And we move on.
Yeah.
And we did our job. But the problem is today's law enforcement manager, and I don't mean 100% of them, I mean probably 95% of them.
Everyone but Wayne Ivey and Grady Judd.
Everyone but.
They don't have their people's back. And the people out there, the ladies and gentlemen that are out there doing this job, they don't know if I go out there and I shoot whoever because they pulled a knife on me or whatever, is this department going to have my back? And I'm telling you, the cases show that they don't.
Yeah.
But
they don't have their back.
But it actually goes back a lot further than defund the police. This goes back to when chiefs were told, if you don't keep all the citizens happy, the city manager or the administration is going to fire you.
Right, because they're under contract.
Self-preservation.
Self-preservation.
Yep.
Okay, because even when I started, cops, and this is in 1999, cops weren't cops anymore.
But you know what I love? I loved it when agencies would hire from within and they would put a chief of police in office that had been an officer there for, let's say, 18, 19, 20, 25 years. To me, those are the guys that already had their retirement locked in. They didn't have to worry about losing their retirement,
right.
And they could go in there and stand up for the cops. They did. The ones that were bad were the ones that would come in from outside.
Hire from
they
outside.
didn't have a retirement yet. They knew they had to do a minimum of 5 or 10 years before they got their retirement.
Was groomed to be the chief within the
So
next year or two.
therefore, they had to worry. Okay, I've got 5 more years before I can get that retirement. I gotta hang out. I gotta do what the city manager says. I gotta do what the commission says. I gotta do what the mayor says. Whatever it is, and they shit all over their people. And I don't. That aggravated the hell out of me. It didn't happen a lot with our agency. Thank God.
Do you think that the city managers and the mayors did that on purpose for that reason?
No,
because the reason they always give is, well, we would like to have a different perspective.
And we didn't have a qualified candidate in house.
But if we hire from outside, not the thing they don't say is
it's
we
a
can still
marionette.
control. Right.
They could pull their strings whenever they wanted, and they knew they were under contract.
You need a cop. You need a chief who's willing to go into the city manager, town administrator, whatever that position is.
Yeah.
To go in and say, bullshit, this is not acceptable.
Right.
And if you don't give me what I'm telling you I need to have, I will resign.
Right.
No, they're not willing to do that. If you have someone who's willing to fall on their sword, all of a sudden, all the cops are like,
that's my guy, or that's my chief. Yeah,
all right,
that's the guy I want to continue to work for.
And if you don't keep him in office, you don't keep him as chief, we're all leaving.
When I say guy, but there was what was it? The Seattle police chief was a female, and she
got crucified.
And she was standing up for her officers during all those riots.
Absolutely,
and everything.
absolutely.
And that's the kind of chief I'd work for.
But back in the day, you get a call. I get a call. There's a dead squirrel in the road. Like, okay, call animal control. Well, they're concerned because it's by the bus stop and kids may get near it. Okay, that's not a law enforcement problem.
Right.
But we are now the babysitters of the world.
Yeah. And here's the deal. And I wrote this in a post on Facebook to the Sanford FOP 140. And shout out to you guys for standing up for the Sanford police officers. I really appreciate it, man. You guys are doing great work. But here's what I wrote in my Facebook post. If you're not happy with what is going on, then you need to make change.
Right.
And the way you can make change, and not if you're on probation, you do not want to do this, ladies and gentlemen, if you're on probation.
No, sir.
If you're on probation, you just need to keep your mouth shut, get your year in, and then get off probation.
Right below the radar.
Absolutely. All below the radar. But if you're not on probation, and my dad did this back in the 70s for the Orange City Police Department, and they were paying them it was a murderous wage. It was terrible what they were paying them. And he got together, and me as a 10-year-old kid was out there holding picket signs and walking in front of City Hall. Pay your police like your life depended on it. And we walked up and down in front of City Hall for 3 or 4 hours, and all the citizens walking by. If you guys aren't happy, and this goes across the nation, if you guys are not happy, guys, and when I say guys, that's a vernacular for everyone.
Stanford University says you're not allowed to use the term guys anymore.
Yes, but he's not a biologist, so he doesn't know what he's talking about.
That's right. So you folks that are working for these agencies, and are not being treated fairly, or your pay is horrible, or your benefits are horrible, or whatever, you need to organize. And I don't mean union, because in the state of Florida, it's non-binding union, and it doesn't mean jack squat. The city manager and the mayor and the commission can just say, well, I think you're done.
It helped our agency when we needed it.
Well, it did, but the problem was...
It takes so long for the union to actually become effective.
Yeah.
Right. As our city commission didn't know any better. That's why it was effective. Okay. But when you got some smart folks in there and this and that... So what I'm saying is, organize. Get your folks together and go down to City Hall and have your visual 7 or 8-year-old child holding a sign out there to say, pay your police like your life depended on it.
Or for a fee, we may travel to help you out.
Absolutely. If it's local, I will damn sure walk in front of City Hall with a sign. I damn sure will.
I got a dinosaur suit.
That would be amazing.
Dude, on a serious note, I will absolutely go out in front of City Hall and hold a sign and walk up in front of City Hall, or on 1792 or on I-4 or wherever I need to be.
Yes, sir.
So don't whine about it and then not do nothing about it. If you're pissed off and you're tired of not being paid and you're tired of no support from your administration, do something about it.
But, I get that, but sometimes you can't. You got kids. You're in 7 years. Okay, you might be vested. And are you going to jump over to another agency?
It's hard to make that call.
And it's tough to change agency.
Right.
It's tough,
and
man.
It's like, okay,
that's what I'm saying.
And in the state of Florida, law enforcement, teachers, firefighters, they cannot legally picket. They cannot.
No.
They can't strike. That's what I meant.
Yes,
strike.
yes.
They can't legally strike because
they can't call in a blue flu, and what that is where everybody calls in sick and nobody shows up for work. You can't do that. You cannot strike, and not show up for work.
A red tide at the fire department.
Yeah, probably.
Probably, yeah.
Can you tell a difference though?
I don't know.
If they don't show up.
But you got to do something. So I think that's the most significant thing. And if you check the stats, if you look at some of these agencies in these cities and see what their vacancy rate is, it's going to scare the shit out of you, because I'm telling you right now, most of these agencies are operating at about 75% personnel.
I would be agencies are even worse.
It would be interesting to do a study as to how short every agency is in relationship to how good their administration is.
But how do you rate how good?
Absolutely, I agree. Like do an officer satisfaction.
A cop's cop.
Yeah. An officer satisfaction survey.
I wonder how short staffed is Grady Judd's agency.
I agree. Probably not pretty short at all.
Yeah, probably lower than national average.
All right, guys, listen. If you're in an area and you want to move, I'm going to talk a little bit about our sponsors real quick, because I got to get them in there.
Great segue, bro.
We appreciate our sponsors, and it's Kristen and Tom Clem Realtors of Exit Advantage Realty. If you're ready to move and get the hell out of that city that you've been living in that's not taking care of you, these folks can take care of you. All their information's below. And if you're ready to cash out of that house and just get the hell out of Dodge and start renting somewhere because you did change jobs, Clem & Company can buy that house from you, and they will take care of you. Tom is a veteran Marine. He's also a full-time law enforcement officer locally, and this guy will take care of you. You want to talk about honesty and prestige? This is your guy right here that you want to talk to. Also, ARackAbove. If you're going to stay, you got a bunch of crap in your garage and you're tired of, you can't park your car in the garage. It's freezing.
You got little cattle tracks.
Yeah, if it's 150 degrees outside and your car's, like boiling when you get in it and you want to park it inside, get a hold of my buddy Steve with ARackAbove. That's www.ARackAbove.com. 2,000 pounds this rack will hold, and that is a shit ton. Absolutely.
I came up with the joke, and they all steal it.
He can all put it. That's because you're too slow.
I came up with it. I said it first.
He can put it all above, and you can walk under it. You can park under it. You can drive under it. Whatever you want to do, get a hold of them.
But can it core a apple?
Can it what?
Core and apple.
Core a apple.
What the hell does that have to
And
do
a
with
honeymoon.
anything?
It's a honeymoon.
Oh yeah, you're old.
Anyway, and our normal sponsor for our beer, not tonight because it was Blue Springs Brewery, but our normal sponsor for the show for the beer is Kenny's Groceries, located 1792 in French Avenue in Orange City. They have over 500 craft beers and wines, and now they have liquor. They actually have Fireball in there.
Fireball!
I saw it the other day. I almost grabbed me a bottle. So listen, guys, we really appreciate everything that you guys are doing for us on the show. We have some business cards now that Mike, and it's John's son-in-law, had made up for us. They have a QR code on the back that automatically takes you to the show. We're going to be handing those out to everybody that we meet.
Everybody.
We appreciate that very much. And guys, if you have topics that you want us to talk about, please like and subscribe below. Leave us a comment. We would love to cover a topic that you guys say, hey, I want you to talk about this. Hey, I want you to give an opinion. Yep. We would love to do that. And
if you have a true crime, we're also venturing into true crime. If you want us to cover a cold case, holy shit! I just heard about a cold case in Daytona that 29 years they just
I saw that
sentenced a guy to life for a cold case murder in Daytona.
Or if you're an agency that's having some issues with your administration, send us the info and maybe we'll talk about that agency. And
maybe
and we'll pick it for you.
Free press right here.
I will write the signs because I am the greatest speller of all times.
Yeah, not
TYMES times.
So guys,
Johnny Thompson, greatest speller of all time.
Let's give a little salute. We appreciate you because it's surviving a badge.
Still
got your six.